Hello everyone, back to today's video, having a look at weather next week to 10 days in today's video, but we're going to start off focusing on Hurricane Ophelia. We're going to be hearing quite a bit about Hurricane Ophelia, I think, in the coming few days. This hurricane will become a post-tropical storm and head up towards the west of Ireland through the early part of next week through Monday, and it may bring some very windy weather to particularly Ireland and western Scotland. It may bring windy conditions further into the UK as well. At the moment, it looks like this is going to skim just to the west of Ireland, but of course it's a few days away, and the exact track of this storm is pretty uncertain. But very unusual weather to be seeing hurricanes around the Azores and pushing northwards as post-tropical storms towards northwest Europe. It is quite unusual what's going on. So we'll deal with that first of all. This satellite picture just here was or is Hurricane Ophelia, and it was taken at 9:45 this morning. See the eye of the Category 1 Hurricane Ophelia just there, just to the eastern part of the tropical Atlantic, heading close towards the Azores. This is from the National Hurricane Center. So this is Category 1 Hurricane Ophelia, just here in the northeastern part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean. Of course, that's America over there. This is North Africa down here, and the west of Europe is up there somewhere. And Ophelia is going to be moving in that direction in the coming few days. So this is the track for Hurricane Ophelia from the National Hurricane Center. So this is the very latest position of Ophelia just here. Going to be heading up towards the Azores, as I say, in the next couple of days, just skimming to the east of the Azores. So that's the position of Ophelia by 2 a.m. on Sunday, a few hundred miles off the coast of Portugal at that time. I say very unusual to see a hurricane that far north. Now, by the time you get through to 2 a.m. on Monday, this is downgraded from a hurricane to sort of a post-hurricane type storm. So at that point, it's out to the west of the Bay of Biscay, that being Bay of Biscay, of course, just there. And by the time you go through to 2 a.m. on Tuesday, we've now got a post-tropical storm to the northwest of Scotland, just somewhere close to the Outer Hebrides. So obviously the concern for us is going to be sort of Monday, because that's the position at 2 a.m. on Monday, that's the position 2 a.m. on Tuesday. So obviously by then the storm has presumably moved in that sort of direction off the west coast of Ireland, and possibly bringing some very windy weather to parts of Ireland in particular, but also potentially to Northern Ireland, West Scotland, and maybe Irish Sea coast as well could get a battering through the course of Monday, dragging up very unusually warm air, by the way, on the eastern side of this storm. It's tropical sort of origin air, so not only will it be potentially stormy across western parts of the UK and Ireland, we could also be looking at some very high temperatures as well for the time of year across eastern parts of the country. 25 degrees does look achievable, maybe even higher than that by a degree or two at the end of the weekend and inside next week. This is, again, from the National Hurricane Center. This is tropical storm force wind speed probability. So the highest probability of tropical storm force winds in this area just here, of course, because it still is a hurricane at that point. Once it gets to this point, it's starting to be downgraded, sort of a post-hurricane. But still, the probability is there that particularly Ireland and Western Scotland, quite a high probability there that there could be some tropical storm force winds. So this is certainly gusts of wind going up to 70, 80 miles an hour possible, maybe more for those western parts of the country. Probability by the time you get through to Monday and Tuesday is sort of 40 to 70%. So quite a highish probability of some damaging weather, I think, for particularly Ireland, Northern Ireland, Western Scotland, and possibly Irish Sea coast as well as we go into the start of next week. Notice for England, actually, and eastern Scotland, a much lower probability of seeing tropical storm force wind speeds for those areas. Obviously, we're going to keep you posted on this. It's going to be a big story over coming few days, so we will keep you posted and expect the track of this storm to change a little bit over the coming few days. It might be taken further west. If it does, then even Ireland and Western Scotland could miss the worst of this. Conversely, it might be taken, might end up going further east, and if it does, then we have to start thinking about risk of damaging winds for other parts of the United Kingdom as well. So we will be keeping you posted on this in the coming few days. Right, just having a look at weather next week to 10 days then. So we've got the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts here. The ECDF is on the top. The GFS, which I'll look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. And we've got changes compared to what we were seeing yesterday. And I think it's all down to the way the models are handling Ophelia, what they're doing with Ophelia, and then the impacts after Ophelia goes through. So you remember yesterday's video was looking very, very unsettled through next week. Now it looks like we're getting much more of an influence from high pressure to the south. So we've got this area below average heights in the Atlantic. Low pressure is to the south of Greenland. But for us, let's go through to the 7 to 10 day time frame, which takes us to around the 20th through to around 22nd of October. For us, it's this ridge down to the south that is more dominant. So the jet stream, quite a strong jet stream, is being pushed to the north, and particularly for England and Wales, still getting a lot of dry weather and pretty mild weather as well as we go through into the second half of October. The GFS making even more of this ridge, so actually quite anticyclonic here in the 7 to 10 day time frame today. Big change on what it was showing yesterday, with the jet stream doing something like that. So again, this is all indicative of the chopping and changing that is occurring due to Hurricane Ophelia and the track of Hurricane Ophelia, and then the effects once it clears through, what it does to the atmosphere. GFS ensemble data next. We're looking at Edinburgh. Someone's asked me have a look at the ensembles for Edinburgh today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Edinburgh, and obviously over the next few days it's going to be warm. As we get through to next week, there is a gradual decline in the temperature. It is slow. It's not going to be a quick drop in temperature, just a very gradual lowering of temperatures until we get through into the final week to 10 days of October, when at Edinburgh anyway the upper air temperatures are back close to average. A lot of dry weather coming up through the rest of this week and the weekend, more unsettled into next week. So certainly for the northern part of the country, we've still got this idea of more unsettled weather. But I suspect if we was looking at an ensemble somewhere further south, let's say London, it would look a lot drier than that for next week. These are the surface temperatures. So again, this is for Edinburgh. Pretty warm at the moment, 15 degrees. That's quite warm for the northern part of the country. Staying warm into next week as well. And then this slow drop in temperature taking place through the course of next week into final week to 10 days of October. So again, the idea is then, not all that well supported, but it is there that as we get through to the final week of October in particular, we might start to see the risk of frosty nights increasing. Bear in mind, this is for the northern part of the country, not down in the south. In terms of air pressure, this is how air pressure is looking in the next couple of weeks for Edinburgh, starting off pretty low really at 1,010 millibars, sticking between 1,010 and 1,020 millibars over weekend into next week. Then this drop in air pressure occurs through into middle part of next week, and quite low with the pressure before a recovery begins to take place later on. Again, this final week of October causing a lot of uncertainty. Notice several members of the ensembles are really quite high with the air pressure, but several are very low as well. So I think the final week to 10 days of October really is still up for grabs. But what we can say is that the models have shifted more today towards high pressure being dominant, certainly for the third week of October, compared to what we was looking at yesterday. The temperature anomaly for the next week, this taking us from the 12th through 20th of October, is coming out warmer than average for the UK and for the vast majority of Europe as well. Many parts of Europe are seeing temperature anomalies there between around 4 and 8 degrees above average. So if you don't like warm weather in the autumn, we are not suffering alone. Most parts of Europe are seeing significantly warmer than average temperatures in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies is looking like this. So the far northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland coming out a little bit wetter than average, but many parts of the UK coming out drier than average, substantially so, as is much of Europe as well. So warm and dry continuing into next week to some degree. Just have a look at the GFS then. This is for Monday. So that's Ophelia, post-tropical storm Ophelia, just there at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Let's see what this latest run of the GFS does with it. So it runs it up to the west of Ireland by 6 o'clock in the evening, bringing some strong winds to Ireland, but keeping the worst of it actually off the coast, off the western coast of Ireland. So just about getting away with it across Ireland on Monday. By the time we get through to 6 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, post-tropical storm Ophelia is off the western coast of Scotland, and that could be bringing severe gales in towards the far west of Scotland. That is giving a battering then to parts of western Scotland. Nothing really of interest for England and Wales from this, other than the temperature pulling up very warm air from the south early next week could lift temperatures into the mid-20s Celsius. By the time you get through to Wednesday, so high pressure is still dominating across England and Wales, looking very different to sort of charts we was looking at yesterday. Scotland and Northern Ireland just back to cloud, rain, and some quite strong winds, but the damaging winds from Ophelia have gone away. Then through the course of next week, so keeping influence from high pressure to the southern part of the country throughout the week. Actually, will be another dry week coming up in the south, always more unsettled up to the north. Then we run up towards day 10 and high pressure remains dominant. That, as I say, it's very, very, very different to what we looked at yesterday, and it is indicative of the models really struggling to get a handle both on the track and movement of post-tropical storm Ophelia, and also struggling to work out what the impacts of Ophelia will be once it has gone through. But much more anticyclonic today with the GFS compared to yesterday. This is the E70F finally. So that's where Ophelia is sitting at midnight on Monday as a post-tropical storm. We go through to Tuesday, it's midnight Tuesday, and you notice Ireland has taken a direct hit with this. So whereas that particular run of the GFS was keeping it off the west coast of Ireland at midnight on Tuesday, the E70F has post-tropical storm Ophelia over Northern Ireland. So obviously a direct hit of wind and rain to Ireland, and how bad that would be, of course, it's too early to say, but potentially it could be giving gusts certainly 60, 70, 80 miles an hour, and even quite windy for the rest of the UK as well. By the time you get through to Wednesday, Ophelia has gone through, high pressure is beginning to re-establish itself from the south, then into the second half of next week, so just classically autumnal really for the north and west, a bit wet and windy up there. Still mostly dry, close to that ridge down in the south. We go up towards day 10, and the Atlantic breaks through, and it does turn more generally unsettled. Obviously, there's some doubt about that, because next week we see more of an influence from high pressure from the south, which is at odds with what we were looking at yesterday. So if things aren't sorted out in the 5 to 7 day time frame, then the 7 to 10 day time frame is even more uncertain. So we probably won't know for another couple of days the exact track of Hurricane Ophelia, and we probably won't know until then, what the exact impacts will be once this storm has gone through. So just watch your space, really, if you're concerned about what is going to happen with Ophelia. Then keep checking back to your website. Of course, UK Met Office is the place to go for severe weather warnings, and I'm sure within the next couple of days we will have the exact track of this storm pinned down, and then we'll know what the impacts will be once it's gone through in terms of the weather for the rest of next week. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.